but with the winter sports season now officially underway, we've got some heaters in here. Welcome, everyone, to week 2 of Frozen Frenzy. I'm, of course, your host, Tyler Baraldi. And if last week was the preview, this week is the feature showcase. Because it might be week 2 of our show, but there's really something magic about week 1 of any sport. The excitement, the anticipation, a whole offseason of preparation, and for some, the beginning of the end of their varsity careers. All right, look, I know I'm really amping up the drama here, but how can you not be romantic about the first week of a new season? So, without further ado, let's take a look at today's lineup. Taking a look at our lineup here, we're going through some boys basketball and hockey recaps from the last week, checking out some of the best highlights from those games in the process. Then we're taking a trip to the Coach's Corner, where today we're speaking with Holyoke High School boys basketball coach Juan Maldonado, recapping their game against Northampton and looking toward the future of the Purple Knights. Next, we're previewing this week's games with some exciting matchups on the hardwood and the ice coming up for you. That's, of course, followed by our Athlete of the Week, where we're sitting down, or rather standing up, with a student athlete nominated by you at home. And, folks, this week's is a first, so you won't want to miss it. And, of course, we'll be wrapping everything up with our Frozen 5 top plays of the week. Now let's jump right into the action with this week's game recaps, starting on the hardwood with the South Hadley Tigers hosting the Amherst Hurricanes. The Tigers won this matchup 60-49 last year in Amherst, and that scoreboard, well, it must have went straight to the bulletin board, because this year the Hurricanes stormed out to a 31-19 lead at the half. Mitchell Carey lived up to the last name, giving the Hurricanes almost half of their buckets with 15 points in that first half, while South Hadley's leading scorer, Isaiah James, could only clock 8. And the halftime break didn't slow Amherst down either. Carey had another 5 in the third, but then Sam Woodruff entered the chat, shooting daggers and scoring 13 in the scoring 13 in the fourth quarter alone. That storm was far too much for the Tigers to weather. Amherst beat down South Hadley 71-51. Now to the East Longmeadow Spartans, who hosted Springfield International's Bulldogs on Thursday evening. The Spartans, coming off a 6-13 year, well, the Bulldogs, they last year were more like the Chihuahuas, going 1-19. The past is the past, though, and these two squads are meeting for the first time in a long time. Junior Noah Enriquez Davis led East Longmeadow, nabbing 19 points, while freshman Jack Widersheim followed with 12 of his own. Nolan Garska and Jack Serafini also scored in the double digits. Meanwhile, Springfield International's Jalen McIver led all scorers in the contest, tallying 23 on the box score. The Spartans start their season off on the high ground here, securing the win 63-59. Up next for the Spartans is a road trip to Belchertown, while the Bulldogs, even though they did have a good showing, look to rebound at home versus Minnechaug. And we go into the rink now as the Natick Redhawks face off against Pope Francis in West Springfield. The Cardinals managed to keep goalie Brower Malcolm busy throughout the entirety of the first, that puck staying in the Redhawks defensive zone for just about the entire period. And this really is a relentless attack on the net we're talking about here, but Malcolm is a brick wall between the pipes until the end of the period, where a one-timer from Mason Thayer sends us to our first intermission. To emphasize this offensive onslaught, the Cardinals take 25 shots in the game, with Malcolm saving 22 of them, while Pope's goaltender George Ramsey ended the night with 11 of his own. And that's enough for Pope Francis to come out on top here, 3-2 being the final score. And we're going to wrap up with the Minnechaug Falcons now visiting the Westfield Bombers on Thursday night. Westfield finished last season 8-12, while Minnechaug went 10-9, including an appearance in the state tournament. Most importantly, these teams split last year's series. Minnechaug senior Landon Eldridge led the Falcons in scoring with 13 points, closely trailed by junior Darren Duaz, 12. And I can confirm our Athlete of the Week alumni Max Baroni was absolutely scrapping out there. Meanwhile, Bombers' Patrick Lech led Westfield with 10 points of his own, but it's the Falcons who end up flying high and coming out on top of the Bombers, 51-44. Up next for Minnechaug, they're facing Springfield International Charter School, while Westfield is set to host Chicopee High. And speaking of Chicopee High, it's now time for Coach's Corner, where we're really getting into the X's and O's with some of the best minds in Western Mass winter sports. This week, we're chatting with Holyoke High School boys basketball head coach Juan Maldonado, who's coming right off a nail-biter 73-70 dub over Northampton. So, Coach Maldonado, how are we doing this morning?
Doing well, Tyler. Thank you for having me. We're doing extremely well, and obviously it feels good to come off a season opener win.
Absolutely. Hey, I'm glad to hear. Now, I guess my number one question here is because believe it or not, I've never been a varsity high school basketball coach. So when I see a score like that, I just got to wonder, when you're in crunch time of a game like that, what's going through your head? How are you keeping the players motivated?
I mean, they're high school boys playing high school basketball, so the motivation comes within themselves. We're just trying to get make enough plays to get the win, especially down the stretch. And then we'll look at film and make corrections after. But down the stretch of that, we're making adjustments, and hopefully the boys can make enough plays to get the win. And we did that last night.
Totally. Now, when it comes to the game itself, we actually sent our photographers down there. Folks, you might have noticed we didn't have this game in our recap because there was a bit of a mishap early on in the game. A fire alarm or something like that went off, and it kind of created a delay. As a coach, you have so much anticipation going into a season opener. Did that affect your guys' game plan at all? Did you get any, extra thoughts during that delay?
I mean, I'll say it affected both teams. Both teams we had to evacuate the building, and we were out in the cold, so it took a little bit to get warm. But it was at the end of the first half as well, so we got in the locker room and made adjustments and came back and adjusted well. So it's that's part of life. You gotta adjust on the fly.
Absolutely. No, I mean, look, nothing like freezing in the cold as you're trying to heat up and warm up. So looking ahead for your next slate of games, I mean, based off of this first game right here, where's your guys' head at? It's a close victory. It's a narrow victory. So are you seeing yourself like in any your style of play? Are you seeing that changing at all based off tonight's matchup, or is it kind of just staying the course?
Well, it's staying the course. This is the coaching staff was extremely anxious to watch our boys out there. Coming off, losing 6 seniors last year. Then we lost our senior, what would have been our senior point guard to transfer. Transferred a Super 7 point guard, transferred to Central. So we have an inexperienced group, to say the least. So we were just really anxious and excited to get our boys out there to see who does what and what roles, and we're still trying to figure that out. Obviously, it's just one game, but to tell you the truth, our boys played hard. They made play after play, even as we know that basketball is a game of runs, and Northampton is well coached, and they're a good program, and they made their runs. But our boys stood the course and stuck to the game plan and made a few more plays than Northampton.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, and dealing with losing your major players, your star players, whether it's a professional group we're talking about or a high school group, that's a type of adversity that a lot of teams, really struggle to overcome. So with that being said, as you look ahead to your season at large, what are some of your goals, and then what are some of your expectations?
The expectations is high. Here in Holyoke basketball, when I took over, it's always been, a pretty solid program, even before myself. So the expectations are and the goals are always high. We want to, always put out a good brand of basketball, but we also want to make the playoffs, right? We want to get the 10 wins to make the playoffs, and we know that once we make the playoffs, anything can happen.
Totally. And you kind of alluded to it, but maybe we can go a little bit more in depth here because, this is week one. You had a whole off season to prepare and kind of game plan and strategize ahead of time. What were some of the challenges, some of the biggest challenges that you've kind of foreseen throughout the entire season that you're now having to overcome, or at least plan to overcome?
Yeah, the inexperience. We have a Super 7, one of the top players in Western Mass, Jordan King, who couldn't play last night. So we were really, really young. And besides that, we had Julian Fasoli, who probably was the next highest minutes, and he didn't get a lot of minutes on the varsity program, on our varsity team last year. So just guys that haven't played on varsity minutes. So, just that inexperience. And we know that, high school is a lot different than AAU and other leagues that they play in. So It's a lot different. It's a lot more competitive. So just getting guys out there to feel comfortable, and then obviously, experience is life's greatest teacher. So the more we get out there, the more they play, the better they will be.
All right, folks, hopefully you paid attention to those names because I'm sure they're going to be coming up a lot more throughout the rest of the season here on Frozen Frenzy. Now, Coach Maldonado, I think that's just about going to do it for the time that we have this morning. But just one quick thing as you look ahead into your next matchup coming up this week, if you could give one key to the game, what do you think it's going to be?
Just basketball's a game of runs, right? I said it earlier. Basketball's a game of runs. We'll make runs. The other team will make runs. You just got to stay the course and stick together and just, like I said, make a couple more plays, just one more play than the other team, hopefully to get the W.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, thank you so much for your time. I mean, this was a great interview, and we'll, of course, be paying attention to what you guys have coming up next in our game previews, which actually is going to lead into our next segment here. But once again, thank you for your time, and hey, have a great rest of your week. Good luck.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Tyler.
Absolutely. So like I was saying, we're now going to get into our game previews because we've got some major matchups taking place, not just including Holyoke. One of the biggest rivalries on the turf is taking center stage on the ice at Olympia Rink as the Agawam Brownies are set to take on the Westside Terriers. That's one of the top teams in the Wright Conference, taking on one of the upcoming teams in the Berry Conference. So needless to say, this should be a great one. Sticking on the ice here, Ludlow and Minnechaug are facing off, and they split the series last year, but it's a brand new season, so anything can happen, and you know that both teams are looking to prove that they are on top. Onto the hardwood now. We have East Hampton and Westside boys tipping off, both teams with lackluster 24-25 seasons. We're going to be honest here on Frozen Frenzy, but they're looking to bounce back in these newly restructured divisions. Onto the girls' games. SIC is hosting Longmeadow. Charter going 500 last year against a Lancer team with some momentum after a state tournament bid. We actually ended up speaking with their head coach last week. If you want to check that out, Frozen Frenzy, under Sports tab at westernmassnews.com. Got to plug it if you missed last week's episode. But the doghouse is always rocking, so anything is possible. And then finally, a brand new Agawam team hosts the Spartans of East Longmeadow, with the Brownies looking to pull off the upset here. Well, we've talked a lot about Holyoke today, of course, with the Coach's Corner, and we're talking about them in our game preview as well. But we're actually going to be heading right back to the home of the Purple Knights because that's where we're going to find our athlete of the week for this week. That's Omar Quaskett from Holyoke's United basketball team. All right, Omar. Well, congratulations. You have your glorious Athlete of the Week trophy right there. So, I mean, obviously, of course, this was, and we have an audience, we have a live studio audience, but this was, of course, voted on by our viewers. And I guess the number one question on my mind right now is, what makes unified basketball and your performance as a point guard so important to you?
It's like helping the team mostly, but also a teamwork. It's mostly team-based game. So if we're all together, everything matters.
Absolutely. And the team, I'm sure you guys have some great moments together. Yeah. Are there any moments that stand out to you as for, some of your favorite moments as a part of Unified?
Like winning our first game, that's the most important one for me, in my opinion. Like, it was the first game I ever played for Unified, and what made it great for me.
Absolutely. I mean, you got to start the season off on the right foot. I mean, the first win of the season, that's a great feeling always. Now, what got you into basketball as a whole? I assume, is that your favorite sport? I know you're on the track team too, right?
Yeah. So I started playing basketball when I was like 3rd grade because I came from Puerto Rico and I used to play baseball, but I saw basketball. I thought I was good at it, so I started playing.
All right, sweet. Now, if me and you were 1v1ing right now, what should I be the most worried about? What's your specialty? You shooter, dribbler, or do you have handles, I should say?
I'm an all-around player, I think myself as. I'm a passer, shooter, but I'm also good at defense.
All right, sweet. Now, I feel like the number one question for any point guard, because that is your position, is, are you more on the passing? Are you more of a facilitator, or is it like, game time, get the ball in my hands, I'm putting the shots up?
I'm a passer to myself, but I like shooting, but getting the team involved is my main thing.
Absolutely, yeah, that makes sense, definitely. Have there been any off the court moments, whether it's on in school, just in track here at Holyoke High, that come to mind as some of just your brightest moments since you came here?
Not really. I just like to be myself and relax, but also work out more, get my body in shape for the game seasons.
Definitely makes sense. And remind me, what grade are you in right now?
I'm a freshman.
Freshman, all right. So you got 4 years ahead of you, whether it's with Unified or the Holyoke team or, wherever you're going, whether it's track or basketball. What are some of your goals as you look down to whether it's this year, next year, or in the future?
Like, get involved more, but my dream in life is just go D1.
There we go. Absolutely. And, of course, that means that'll make you a student athlete. And we aren't just honoring you because of what you've done on the court with Unified or what you've done on the track as well, but also, you're a great student. So how do you find that, especially as a freshman, where, I don't know about you, when I was a freshman in high school, school was not necessarily the number one thing on my mind, let alone if you're an athlete. How do you find that balance?
So I just let my school go first because grades always matter to me no matter what. Then I just go to sports, just relax, enjoy life, but always have good grades in tests, good grades in general. Most important.
Makes sense. All right. So now we're going to get to our fast break portion of the program here. Like I said, we got 3 questions for you. And I don't want you to think. I want it straight from the hip, first thought that comes into your mind. All right? You ready to go?
Let's go.
All right, let's do it. All right, first question. Spotify Wrapped just came out. It's the end of the year. What is your #1 artist you've been listening to?
Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny, all right. That's a good pick. That's a good pick. #2, we're talking about sports right now. If you had to pick one athlete that you look up to, your favorite athlete of all time, who's that going to be?
Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bryant, another good choice right there. Wise beyond your years. And then our final question here, this is what I asked last week as well. We're going to be asking, what is if you had one meal left and you were like, all right, this is my meal, I'm never going to be able to eat again. What is your favorite meal?
I just got to go with Thanksgiving meal with my family.
Little turkey, any side in particular or just?
Not everything.
Everything.
I have everything on my meals.
There we go. All right, I love it. Omar, congratulations,
Thank
man.
you.
That was awesome, and that's our Athlete of the Week. How can you not love Omar? Freshman Big D1 dreams helping out Unified basketball. Now, if you know a special player who's making an impact both on and off the court, you can scan that QR code on your screen right now. Nominate your Athlete of the Week, and they can be featured right here, their own highlighted interview on Frozen Frenzy. All right, folks, now it's time for my personal favorite segment right here, our Frozen 5 top plays of the night. And getting into it, we have Wolfgang Zinger on the breakaway for Pope Francis. He shoots the dot, but Brower Malcolm makes a ridiculous glove save. And in the 4 spot, we're going to turn it over to Westfield's Patrick Lech with the 3-pointer. That's one of 3 he hit in the game, and the boys are loving that one. That's how you rile up the crowd. And coming in at number 3, Springfield International, Jalen McIver puts up a one-hander through the double team and one, gets the bucket while going to the ground. Not technically an and one, but, it still counts. And then as we go into number 2, we have Thayer with the beauty deep shot to open up the scoring for Pope Francis. So that is a massive shot. As we mentioned, that goalie was almost unstoppable. Now, as we go to our number 1 highlight, we are trading threes in South Hadley. Big 3 right there to take the lead, or rather they already had the lead, but that's going to be rebutted immediately. We're going to send it over to our Athlete of the Week, Max Baroni, from last week to get that back-to-back. You're not getting 3 points that easy. And that's going to do it for now. So stay warm, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on Frozen Frenzy. If you missed this show live, of course, or you missed last week's, you can check it out on westernmassnews.com. But in the meantime,